She called 911 because I was grilling ribs by the lake. Yeah, ribs. And when the sheriff's car rolled up, she stood there like she'd just saved the neighborhood until she realized the officer stepping out of that car was my dad. That was the moment Karen made the biggest mistake of her life. It all started on a Sunday morning so calm it almost felt fake. The lake was still, birds, quiet sky, perfectly blue, like the world was holding its breath before something stupid happened. I was flipping ribs on the grill, music playing low, the kind of day that's supposed to remind you life can be simple. Then I saw her pink dress heels sinking into the grass, clipboard clutched like a sword. Karen Wilcox, the self-proclaimed queen of Cedar Lake Estates, vice president of our HOA and professional buzzkill. She stopped at the edge of my lawn, gave me that tight smile like she was posing for a mugshot. "Mark," she said, "you know, open flames near shared property are restricted." I blinked, looked around at the literal body of water surrounding us. "Karen, it's a grill, not a wildfire." She didn't laugh. She just scribbled something on her clipboard the way people do when they're not actually writing anything but want to feel powerful. Then she squinted at my drink. "Is that alcohol?" "It's orange juice," I said. You know, she sniffed some people spike it. That's when Josh, my buddy, came out carrying a plate of ribs. "Morning, Karen," he said. "You want one?" Her eyes narrowed like he'd offered her poison. "I don't eat food cooked illegally," she said. Josh looked at me. "Illegally? What is this rib court?" I laughed. Wrong move. Her face went red, voice cracked like thunder. "You're violating HOA Code 7B4. I told her to relax, to enjoy her Sunday, but she whipped out her phone and said the words that made my stomach drop. "Yes, 911, I'd like to report an unsafe fire hazard near the lake," Josh whispered. "She's actually doing it, dude. I thought she was bluffing, but no. She gave our address and smiled right at me while she did it. That fake victory smile people wear when they think they've finally got you cornered." Minutes later, the sirens echoed across the lake. Karen fixed her hair, stood tall, the star of her own movie. Neighbors peeked out phones ready, pretending to water plants, but obviously recording. I felt heat rise in my chest, not from the grill, from humiliation. Then the sheriff's SUV rolled up, lights flashing. The door opened, and out stepped my dad. Karen waved like she was hailing a taxi. "Officer." "Over here," she called. My dad looked at her, then me, then back at her again. "Hey, Dad," I said. The neighborhood froze. Karen's face drained of color. "You called 911 over a barbecue?" my dad asked. She stammered. "There was smoke and possible alcohol and—" He raised a hand. "Ma'am, I'm the sheriff, not your HOA security guard. You know wasting emergency services is a real offense, right?" The crowd started laughing. Karen turned and walked off her heels, digging trenches in the dirt. Dad clapped my shoulder. "Keep the flames low," he said. "Only crime I see here is overcooked meat." But I knew that wasn't at the end. People like Karen don't forgive humiliation, they recycle it into revenge. 3 days later, a letter appeared in my mailbox. HOA logo, official stamp. Violation notice, unauthorized outdoor activity, $500 fine, and a mandatory hearing. Josh laughed when he saw it. "Man, she's really turning this into a trilogy." I wanted to ignore it, but something in me, call it pride, call it spite, made me show up. The hearing was held in the community hall, which smelled like cheap coffee and disinfectant. Karen sat in the middle of the board table wearing the same pink dress like it was her battle armor. She listed my so-called crimes: unsafe grilling, noise disturbance, use of community property. When I tried to speak, she ignored me. When I showed the video Josh had taken, the one where Dad shut her down, the room went quiet. Then came laughter. Even the HOA president chuckled. Karen's face tightened. "That's out of context," she said. But the damage was done, until she pulled out a photo. Me sitting by the lake, a beer bottle beside my plate. Except it wasn't mine, it was Josh's. She'd taken it from a different day, printed it, and written the time on the back like it was evidence. The board voted 3-2 against me. Walking out of that room, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: powerless. Like no matter how right I was, the rules would always bend for people like her. That night I found a soggy note pinned to my dock. "You don't belong here. No signature. just black ink bleeding through the paper. I looked across the lake. Her blinds twitched. She was watching. That's when fear turned into anger. I wasn't going to be her victim. Josh helped me set up cameras, cheap ones at first, then better ones. The footage didn't lie. 2 nights later, her husband was caught sneaking near my dock, flashlight in hand, taking pictures. The next morning, I confronted him. "Tell your wife to stop spying on me." He gave this fake, polite smile. "Maybe you shouldn't record people near shared property lines," he said. That was the moment I realized it wasn't about rules. It was about control. Karen wanted to own the neighborhood, and I was the obstacle. Things got ugly fast. Trash bins went missing. My tires got slashed. Rumors spread that the sheriff covered up my aggressive behavior. I became the villain of her little empire. And then one night another cop knocked on my door, someone else from the department. "We got a call about a disturbance," he said, "yelling near the dock." I showed him the footage. No yelling, no movement, nothing. He sighed. "Maybe try avoiding contact with her for now." Avoid contact. Exactly what she wanted: silence. Isolation. I started to question myself. Maybe I had pushed too far. Maybe the cameras made me look paranoid. But then I found another envelope taped to my door. Inside was a screenshot from the HOA Facebook page. A post. Homeowners should be aware of ongoing safety issues near the lake. Comments poured in. People speculated. Karen replied under her own post. Thankfully, the board is watching closely. That was it. I wasn't losing to gossip. I was going to win with proof. A week later, my camera caught her at 11:47 p.m., crouched near my fire pit taking photos. I printed the stills, sealed them in an envelope marked "Evidence of Harassment," and dropped it at the HOA office. 2 days later, the newsletter came out. Reminder: respect your neighbor's privacy. Everyone knew who it meant. For the first time, she was exposed. That night, I found a new note in my mailbox. "Two can play that game." The next morning, Josh's truck had 3 perfect scratches down the side. That's when she crossed the line. I filed a police report. My dad said, "Let her dig her own hole. Just keep recording." And she did. Because 2 nights later, my cameras caught her again, barefoot in a pink robe, ripping my camera off the porch wall and screaming into the second one, "You can't watch me if I watch you first." She threw it into the yard and stormed home. I didn't yell, didn't chase her. I just sent the footage to the board. Within hours, the HOA suspended her pending investigation. A few days later, city code enforcement showed up at her house and slapped a bright orange notice on her garage. Unpermitted structural modifications. Poetic justice. For a moment, I thought it was over, until a new neighbor moved in next door, Daniel. Friendly smile, quiet voice, too curious about the bylaws. A week later, I saw his car parked outside Karen's house. Then again, and again. He was her new pawn. 2 nights later, my motion lights exploded to life. Cameras caught them, Karen and Daniel measuring near my dock. I stepped outside, calm, phone in hand, recording. "Smile," I said. She flinched. "This is harassment," she yelled. "No," I said, "this is documentation." By morning, Josh had posted the video online. Late-night HOA inspection squad caught in 4K. Hundreds of laughing comments. Karen's reputation imploded. That night, she vanished from the meetings. But silence doesn't always mean peace. A week later, I got served, only it wasn't a restraining order against her. It was from her. She and Daniel filed first, claiming I was stalking and threatening them. My dad looked at the papers, jaw tight. "She's playing smart. You can't contact her now, not even to defend yourself." So I waited. Then came the fire. My dock burned halfway before I put it out. One word written in the ash. Soon. The next morning, a flash drive appeared on my porch. Inside security footage showing someone who looked exactly like me lighting the fire. Same jacket, same hat, same build. My dad took it to the department. "It's doctored," he said later. "Metadata's fake." I wanted to believe him. But the doubt crept in if she could convince the whole neighborhood I was dangerous. What stopped her from making this the final nail? The HOA called an emergency meeting. The clubhouse was packed. Karen walked in wearing sunglasses, arm in a sling, all sympathy and poise. "I never wanted anyone hurt," she said to the crowd. "But sometimes when people feel threatened, they do desperate things." She looked straight at me. After the meeting, she stopped me outside. "They're going to find out who did it," she said softly. "And if they think it's me?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "Then you finally know what it feels like to be the villain." I didn't sleep that night. A few days later, I found a phone near the reeds by the lake. Screen cracked, half submerged. The wallpaper, Daniel's face. I turned it on. One video, shaky footage. Karen's voice whispering, "Do it fast. He needs to see what happens when you try to ruin me." Then flames, then static. That was all I needed. My dad took it straight to evidence. Karen was arrested, the HOA board voted to dissolve itself, and Cedar Lake Estates finally went quiet. I stood by the dock that evening, the new wood still smelling like pine, the reflection of the sunset painting the lake gold. Josh came by with coffee. So he said, "War's over." I looked across the water. Karen's house sat dark, a for sale sign leaning in the grass. "People like her don't stop," I said. "They just find new neighborhoods to fix." That night my phone buzzed. One message. New HOA. New rules. And I realized something. Peace isn't about winning the fight. It's about knowing when to stop letting people control your story.